Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the BigMx radio podcast. This would be a solo cast. I am your host, Brad Gebhart, and we got some things to get to. And on this episode, we are going to go over a number of things. First and foremost, we have to get to Cooper Webb's third 450 title. Before I get to that, I have to let you guys know that this podcast is brought to you by Racetech, Racetech Suspension and Engines. Amazing people over there. I guarantee within your general area, you've got a race tech dealer or a certified service center who can set up your suspension the way you need it to be so that you can enjoy your throttle therapy that much more. And you can also save money on race tech when you mention BigMx Radio when you call straight to the headquarters down in California. So do exactly that. Save yourself some money on getting your bike to handle better or maybe create a little bit more horsepower with their engine services as well. And either way, regardless of what you're doing, it's race tech and it's race tech alone because Lord knows they have what it takes and they have what you need to be more successful with that. So enjoy your riding your motorcycle a little bit more. So in this episode, we will cover, like I said, Cooper Webb's third 450 title. RJ Hamphire sliding into third place in the 250 East points. We're going to talk about Jett going to the Met Gala. That's a little bit in the rearview mirror, but I still wanted to touch on it because it is a big story. I'll give my thoughts on it a little bit. I'm also going to kind of dive a little bit into Lucas Mirtl's antics on social a little bit. It's a bit concerning. And I'll kind of weigh in on that a little bit later on in the show. And then a brand new segment, charging and fading. Something that I think is really sort of on an upward trend and something that might be moving itself to the back of the pack or not really in the public eye nearly as much as it could be, should be, or otherwise has been in the past. Also, want to let you guys know that Luxon MX is a great sponsor of this podcast. They've been helping out for a long period of time. They've been great friends of mine setting up my motorcycle. I'm looking forward to getting a set of triple clamps for my 2024 KTM 250 or 300 SX and doing some riding in the near future. But you guys can go on their website right now and save 10% on any one of your purchases. And this is good as many times you'd like to use the code BigMx 2025 saves you 10%. So if it's a set of triple clamps, those can run as much as $1,000. 10% saving is literally like Luxon MX handing you guys $100. So that's pretty solid. I'm not gonna lie whatsoever. I think that's pretty sick. Um, so let's jump straight into this thing. Segment number one, topic number one. Cooper Webb is now a three-time Supercross champion. That puts him in championships ahead of guys like James Stewart, guys like Chad Reed, guys like Eli Tomac. Tomac doesn't have three titles. Um, in the sort of the Mount Rushmore of as far as Supercross goes, does that put Cooper Webb ahead of those legends, guys like Chad Reed, guys like James Stewart? I'm not entirely sure that it does. It certainly is a massive feather in his cap and something that he can say that he's done that a number of other riders have not done. Like I think it certainly puts him in the conversation. I think ultimately, it really depends on like how well the rest of Cooper Webb's career as far as like his legacy. I know there's some people out there who say Jett is the best that's ever been, the best that ever will be. Unfortunately, him getting hurt this last year, that's gonna hurt his overall number of wins that he gets throughout his career. Obviously, he's not going to get as many championships as he possibly could have gotten. He's looking good to be able to defend his title this year. Would he have been able to do that? That's not my place to say, honestly. I think an injury like that, an ACL is something that's obviously that's not, you're not going to be able to overcome that within the season. And like not going to play devil's advocate to say like, yeah, Jett Lawrence, had he been healthy, puts himself, yeah, like, I think he would have had a really good opportunity to win this championship, especially as well with Eli Tomac going out. Um, but when he left the series, I can't even honestly say that Jett was the absolute best guy in this particular season. So, yeah, like it's really like something to be said about a guy like Cooper Webb, who now has five total Supercross championships, between two 250 championships, and now three 450 championships. I think a lot of people, just looking at his career, I think he's probably the most unlikely three-time champion. Just with the fact that there's been a lot of years where Cooper has come in seemingly out of shape. Like sometimes he's like seems a little bit like he's an enigma wrapped in a riddle as far as sort of figuring out if he's the most motivated guy out there. But what he is he's consistent. What he is he is extremely skilled on motorcycle, and he's a gamer. He is going to battle you tooth and nail for every single inch when it comes to a championship. And yeah, it's been really, really number two with the dad bod, 100%. I got some comments rolling in as well. So but honestly, like dad bod or not, he has been a guy who has consistently put himself into a position to win championships and capitalized on it. Cooper Webb is your 2025 champion. That's also a first time 450 championship now for Alex Campbell, which I think that now means that he's won all of the championships. I think he has a 450 outdoor championship with Ferrandis, if I'm not mistaken. That was his first premier title, and he's won 250 titles with Ferrandis as well in Supercross and outdoors. So hey, like quietly, and these guys are always on the back burner, but Alex Campbell, I don't know if if that puts him in the same category as a guy like a Mike Gosler. I don't know if in 2025 we revere these mechanics the same way we did in like the 90s, 80s, 90s, 2000s of like these just amazing mechanics that just get it done. But and that are just looked at as these gurus of motorcycles. I don't know why that's kind of faded away, but yeah, certainly is something to talk about. Alex Campbell now has a championship in every major title within the sport as far as North America is concerned. Ultimately, this championship came down to Chase Sexton making mistakes, but Cooper Webb was able to capitalize on every single opportunity, and this was also the fastest and most talented version of Cooper Webb that we've seen, and that's exactly why he was able to take advantage of every single one of those opportunities, and that's why he's your 2025 champion. Let's get straight into Jett Lawrence going to the Met Gala. Now, for those who don't know what the Met Gala is, it's a fashion show. If it's nothing else, it is a great opportunity for. This is the most mainstream of the North American fashion shows in this regard. This brings out NFL players. This brings out MMA fighters. This brings out basically like every celebrities from every corner of the globe. They want to be. This is like sort of the place to see and be seen. I think in this respect, Jett Lawrence was more seeing than he was being seen by the overarching public. But like, does this matter much in the grand scheme of motocross as a sport? No, I honestly don't think that this like puts us on the map by any means. We've been on some massive stages in the past. We'll be on massive stages in the future, and I don't think that necessarily um, like just launches motocross into the stratosphere of like stardom, and all of a sudden like we're gonna start bringing in these huge Procter and Gamble style sponsorships, but perhaps that like that is this is why we do stuff like this, is maybe it does turn the head of a marketing person that needs to see that sort of event being attended by a motocross person. And if that is something that ends up happening through this, then it's a positive thing. I don't think it's necessarily a negative thing in any respect. Anytime that motocross is featured on the biggest stage of the entire globe, I think it's a good thing. And I think that it's cool that he was, and also looked pretty sharp. Not gonna lie. I think he had kind of like a reddish purple, sort of dark suit on. He's got that the watch company that he seems to be connected with. That I think it's like Movement or Moment or something along those lines. Uh, that company, like they have a ton of followers, but their social media doesn't really seem to like. I think that's kind of a tuned out audience that they've got on that side of things. So I'm not really sure what to make of the watches I'm not much of a watch guy though, so don't really know what to say there. But like, does attending the Met Gala sell bikes and parts? Again, I would say no. Potentially, it draws the eye of a marketing person from a huge brand that gives more motocross a chance, and I think that's the most that the sport can really hope to get out of a situation like that, or attending an event like this. And it's cool for a young athlete like Jett to be able to go. Other athletes that I think would have done a really good job representing the sport, I think would be a guy like either Colt Nichols, good looking cat for one. Plus, he's always kind of fashion first, as well as a guy like Ken Roxon. Ken, he's got that strong jaw. He's a good looking cat, dresses well. He was one of the first guys. He was the first guy to wear the suit to the press conference at Anaheim 1 2017. But yeah, good for Jett to go in there and represent us of all motocross races everywhere. Let's get to one of the questions we've got. Will Cooper Webb contend for the 2025 outdoor title? No, and I didn't expect him to either. I think that like I do expect him to race select rounds. I expect him to race his either his favorite 6 rounds or whichever rounds kind of fit his training schedule and keeping him sharp and prepares him most for the SMX playoffs. Is this good for the series? Ultimately, anytime that you have a top level athlete, a marquee athlete bowing out of a series or not participating in the entire series, as a whole, that hurts the like sort of the story of that season. You're gonna have a guy who sort of comes in, makes some noise, and then is gone for a couple of races. Like ultimately, I think it creates a situation where like later on, years down the road, like you talk about all the time that like Eli or Cooper Webb like kind of came in and kind of had like some flashes of brilliance or took over one particular race. But I think that it sort of it shows that there's an importance now on Supercross and the SMX thing, and obviously that comes down to money, and that's and rightfully so. These guys they race to make money. They're entertainers and they want to perform, but if the juice isn't worth the squeeze to race outdoors, I can't fault a racer for not wanting to race that series. Given the fact that these guys go breakneck speeds, they are they're absolutely selling themselves out weekend in, weekend out. And if by having an abbreviated schedule through the outdoors puts Cooper Webb in the best opportunity to be rolling into the SMX playoffs, sitting third, fourth, fifth in points as far as how the seeding works out, then I think that that's something that he's gonna want. He's gonna value at a really high regard, and I could see him, yeah, like I could see him being at the opening round, maybe the opening 2, 3 rounds, and then him showing up at a place like Millville. That was the home of his very first win in the 450 class in 2019. Obviously, he won the championship in Supercross earlier that year, but I mean, his first outdoor title or outdoor uh, main or overall, which he actually got in a 1-1 performance, is the only time he's ever gone 1-1 at an outdoor was Millville 2019. I could see him showing up to that. I could see him showing up to the previous round, which would be Redbud, Michigan. But I could also see him missing rounds like Southwick or Budds Creek, which I believe is the finale this year. But I also know that he's looking to make some noise and possibly be called to represent USA for more across the nation. So yeah, I would not be surprised to see Cooper Webb race multiple rounds. I don't see him doing the entire series. He came out right in the press conference and says he doesn't give a crap about outdoors, which is not a great soundbite for the series in general. I think in hindsight, maybe kind of like looks back at that comment and maybe that wasn't his most shining moment. But yeah, like overall, I think that it was that's exactly what you're going to expect from Cooper Webb. I expect some good results when he's there. I also expect there to be some weekends where he's kind of invisible if he just goes out there and he's not feeling it on a particular weekend. Goes out, gets himself some good points to put himself in a good position for the SMX playoffs, and that'll be all she wrote. All right, so we got to talk about RJ Hampshire. sliding into third in points in the 250 East Series. Overall, the move in general, sliding into that corner, I don't like it. Like ultimately, in that position, him passing Seth Hammaker was not going to get him the title. Hammaker, they would have tied on points, and because Hammaker would have had the tiebreaker of more main event wins, the title would have gone to Seth at that point. So he was sort of out of options as far as how he could win the championship because even if like if he passes even if he goes down or he like if he passes um Seth and he puts him down, and then if Tom Vial passes Seth, then Tom Vial gets the championship. So he was kind of between a rock and a hard place. Essentially, what needed to happen was he needed to go past not only Seth, but then also go get Hayden Deegan, and that wasn't going to happen either. So yeah, he sends it in there. I think he overcooked the corner more than he thought he was going to. And yeah, the result is taking the both of them out, and essentially his teammate in the fact that that's like it's all the peer group, that's the KTM group that signs his paychecks, ends up with a title. And it's a bummer for Seth Hammaker, who I think was, if not the best, he was one of the best riders throughout the 250 East title. I think you could also make an argument for Levi Kitchen before he goes out of that title at Daytona. He was sort of the class of the field. But yeah, of the guys who raced every single round, and given the fact that Seth also missed the first main event with food poisoning, he for all intents and purposes, could have walked to this title. And you could also make an argument for Tom Vial, obviously receiving no points at the hellacious mutter. If not for that, he walks to this title as well. If you just give him like an average finish on at one of those rounds, ultimately, if either one of those guys had average finishes, the two rounds where they had received 0 points, it's really a table set for two. It's Vial and it's Hammaker, and Seth or RJ Hampshire wouldn't have been all that close to getting West Coast title and an East Coast title in 250s. Regardless, he's heading off to the 450 class. I think I heard that he had apologized to Mitch afterwards, which I think was warranted. Like you pull a move like that essentially takes a championship off the door. That's not a good look, and that's not a good thing to sort of have on your resume. But ultimately, the move ended up getting a championship for Tom Vial. He's going to have to move to the 450 class now. And yeah, like at Anaheim won, and life's going to come at you quick. And I'm gonna get into it a little bit later on in the podcast about who has a better 450 career, RJ Hampshire or Tom Vial. But before we get to that, what about Julian Beaumier slowing down and then ultimately making contact with Seth Hammaker as he was making the pass? Like I think everyone saw that as potentially even more of a kind of a dirty pool than RJ's move in a lot of ways. Julian Beaumier starts to slow down, starts to sort of look around a little bit and make things difficult on Seth. Like his championship as far as Supercross was done. He wasn't going to go catch Hayden on this night. But what he did do was try to put himself in a position to actually like kind of affect the championship a little bit, hold up Seth and allow like Vial to sort of come in and possibly make a pass, or maybe that pressures Seth into a mistake. He did make contact with him. Like I think that's like when it comes to like Supercross is a very individual sport. These guys they're all on the same team, or they're on the same team. Certain athletes are, but they don't really participate together. There's not like a team championship that exists. But when it comes to like, hey, I think there's got to be some talk at the truck of like, hey, if there's an opportunity for you to make things hard on that guy in the green bike, please do so. And like call it team tactics. I think there's rules against that, but how do you really police that if you're the AMA? I don't think that that's really even something that can be done. And yeah, like I think when it comes down to it, Julian is gonna like kind of do the best he can for the team that he rides for. If that means slowing up a little bit. Did I like the move? Much like the RJ Hampshire move? Nope, didn't like it either. I think either one, just go and race your race and let the championship fall as it may. And in this case, I believe Seth Hamaker would have been your East Coast 250 championship. But I also was thinking during this race is that like, what's the best thing for Seth Hamaker is that there's a good possibility here where he's like, came about as close as you can to winning the East Coast title. He'll be back in there, whether it's East Coast or West Coast next year, and minimum 2 more years in the 250 class. He's still a young man. He's still a young pro, and he's shown the speed that he could very well be. And I think he's going to be the odds-on favorite for a championship on either coast next year. As long as he stays healthy, and that's a huge feather in his cap. I think that puts him in a great position to be really successful in the future. And if nothing else, this has proven that his move to go ride down with the Lawrences and the impact that a guy like Darren Lawrence can have on his program. He's completely flipped the narrative as far as like his riding indoors and out. I think we're going to see some really good things from the outdoors as we're going to get to a little bit later in the pod. Question: who will have a better 450 career, RJ Hampshire or Tom VL? Now, what do you mean by better? Is it like championships or race wins or like just like season overall finishes like in the point standings? If that's the case, I'm going to lean more towards Tom Vial for the same reason that he ended up winning this championship, and it comes down to consistency in his championships. Since coming over, like Tom's a two-time world championship two-time world champion in motocross. He's now a two-time Supercross champion, and if I'm not mistaken, I think he has more wins outdoors than RJ does as well. I think that translates well to the 450 class. I think that but I also think that RJ Hampshire has a higher ceiling on a event by event basis, and for that reason, I think that really comes down to just the raw speed that RJ has under the hood. Like he just has that send it. If he gets a good start, he can run away with a Supercross race or an outdoor national. I think probably more leaning towards Supercross. He's always sort of shown more potential for wins even in the 250 class. RJ does that. By that I mean, and I think that also is going to sort of translate into the 450 class. I do think that RJ is going to have to clean things up, and he's shown last year when he jumped up to the 450 class that the 450 might be a great career renaissance for him, like maybe smooth him out a little bit. He has to be a little bit more calculated because if you ride as over the front and sort of like erratically as RJ has shown to ride at certain times during his 250 career, that spells problems on the 450. The 450 does not react well to that in Supercross. We've shown riders that really don't calm down their riding style. It bites them in Supercross. The chassis is a lot more unsettled in 450 Supercross than it is in the 250. Like it takes some serious effort to be able to make a 450 do what you want it to do in Supercross. And I fear that if RJ doesn't smooth himself out a little bit, if he doesn't calm down the how hard he is on the motorcycle, that's going to spell him missing a lot of time and possibly missing out on some serious amounts of time with his 450 Supercross and his outdoor championship career. And by that same token, I think that the smoothness and the preciseness of a guy like Tom Vial, I think that actually benefits him on the 450 side of things. A little bit more power. I think next year in Supercross, if he's going to have to move up unless there's some sort of change in the rule book as far as him moving up to the 450 class and 250 Supercross or 450 Supercross. And I think that that spells like next year is a learning season. I think guys like Ian Harrison and Roger DeCoster see it as exactly that, and he's able to spend the year being a 5 to 10 guy, learning the craft. Maybe have some weekends where he's outside the top 10, but ultimately, like just it's the rookie season on a 450. He's not going to have a lot of pressure on himself to set the world on fire, and I think that he's going to be given an opportunity to learn the 450 in Supercross. And I think that the overall result in that is, say, over the next 6 7 years. I think that that bodes really well for Vial moving forward, and I think that more often than not, he's going to end up higher in the championship standings at the end of the season than RJ Hampshire, and that is just consistency and being able to adapt to the 450 a little bit more soundly. Um, I alluded to it earlier when we got onto the podcast, but we have to talk about Lucas Mirtl and some of just his antics on social, as well as the handling the thing that's in the court. I'm not going to get into my thoughts on did he do it, did he not do it, but I'll say this: everything that I know about things like court proceedings is that your lawyer will say to say less and sort of be a little bit more quiet about things. And Lucas seems to have not either been told that or has chose not to heed that advice in any way, shape, or form. He's doing a lot of traveling, apparently a lot of golfing as well. But like he doesn't seem to be carrying himself as the professional that I would expect that he would, given the fact that like with the things that have been the accusations that have been passed down and the situation that's currently in the courts, I would have expected him to be a little bit more reserved, and he's gone the absolute opposite way on that. Um, I don't know that that is the best course of action moving forward. I think that that is something that like I really don't know. I think that that is something that may really negatively affect how things work out. I think obviously like when it comes to like lawsuits and stuff that ends up in the courts, we're talking years on this, guys. It's not going to be just a couple of months. Court proceedings and which court that this ends up in, and obviously there's questions about, or like there's situations about why of what state the accusations were filed in, or the like which state the accuser was in at the time, or what have you. There's just so much that goes into this, and there's so many more questions than there is answers at this point. Um, like it seems that there's certain riders that have stuck with Lucas, and that's their decision. There's obviously Wasserman has distanced themselves from him completely, and Wasserman is one of the most respected, biggest agencies in sport, period. They represent golfers, F1 guys, hockey players, football players, you name it. They're a trusted agency for a lot of these like hugely mainstream sports. So I respect their judgment as far as wanting to sort of distance themselves. But yeah, it is what it is. Like I just the whole thing is just sort of kind of like leaves me scratching my head about sort of where the whole thing is as far as the situation and what sort of communication's been given to a guy like Lucas. It seems like the whole thing has not been good. I can't imagine the situation like him going through this nightmare. And he's handling it the way he knows best, I suppose. But I would have expected him to be a little bit more on the DL. He's chosen not to do that. Topic number two here on for this particular segment, 250 outdoors. We have got ourselves a championship on our hands. I think it's going to be so much fun to see some guys coming back, guys like Ryder D, Pierce Brown, Jeremy Martin's going to be riding for at least 3 rounds. Does that turn into more rounds? Well, I guess we'll find out. But you're regardless, your defending champion is Hayden Deegan, and I think he's got a great chance to defend his title. You know that with the fact that he wrapped up a title and has been looking like he's going to wrap up a title for a number of weeks now, he's had the luxury of focusing on outdoors, and that likely will be a like spelled to be a little bit of an issue for the rest of the guys who compete against him. Now, that being said, same can be said about Levi Kitchen, who has been, I would assume that Levi has been all outdoors all the time since bowing out of the championship following his crash during the main event at Daytona. Or was that a heat race? Either way, he didn't race the rest of that event. So, yeah, like exited the series, and since getting back on the bike, it has been all outdoors all the time. I think that the 46, 47 machine will be firing on all cylinders. Of course, in Supercross and motocross, that's one cylinder. But be that as it may, I think he's in a good position to be really successful this year. Tom Vial is a two-time outdoor world champion, so I don't worry about him whatsoever. I will say that obviously Seth Hamaker has been very focused on a Supercross title right up until as recently as this Saturday. So does that put him a little bit behind the eight ball as far as preparation for the outdoor series? I think it does. We've seen in the past guys who have like focused on all like they were concerned with wrapping up a title right down to the very last round of Supercross, and they weren't as on point as they needed to be coming out of Supercross. Those first few rounds kind of lagged a little bit. Guys like Ivan Tedesco back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, they admitted to that. They weren't at their best when the series started. Joe Shimoda, like he hasn't really been much of a factor since breaking his finger, but has he been able to focus on outdoors? I think he has. Same thing with Chance Hymas. Like he had a win not long ago, but has been a little bit of a non-factor in the last few weeks of Supercross. Does that mean he's been spending more time on super outdoors? I think that's the case. I think he's going to be able to come out swinging, and I would not be surprised to see a guy like Chance get a win within the first three rounds, whether it's a moto win or an overall win. And I think probably the best chance for that chance to get a chance at a win would be Thunder Valley. I think he goes really well there. The Honda has a ton of power under the hood. And yeah, I think that if there's a round where he's gonna like really catch fire and be able to move forward, it's Colorado. Thunder Valley is a great round for Chance Hymas. What are we gonna get from guys like Ryder D, Pierce Brown? They're coming back from injury. That is a huge question mark. I really don't know what to expect from those guys. I honestly don't even know what to expect from Jeremy Martin. I think the harshest reality of Jeremy Martin returning to the series for even whether it's 3 rounds, 6 rounds, 11 rounds is that he's been training for marathons for the last 6 to 8 weeks or months, and there's a good chance that he puts the boots to some full-time 250 pros that we're not calculating having to deal with him whatsoever. And I don't know if that's even a great look. Another guy that I think that there's some question marks around is a guy like Drew Adams. He's gonna be a rookie in 250 outdoors. He is gigantic as far as physical stature. He's a really big kid. I think he's got to be over 6 feet tall. He's gonna be 6'1", 6'2", weighing in somewhere around 180, 190 compared to some of the guys that he's racing against that are under 150, 160 pounds. Like, doesn't sound like much, but it is when it comes to a 250 outdoors, which it's all about like not to say it's all about the engine, but a lot of those championships and starts come down to the motor, and adding 25, 30 pounds to your like just to your frame, just because you're the big dude, is going to it's going to affect his starts. There's no two ways to slice it. I do expect him to suffer on his starts sometimes, especially even with a teammate like Garrett Marchbanks. They got some great starts with Ty Masterpool last year. I think there's the Kawasaki is more of a five breather than it was in maybe say 4 or 5 years ago. It is a new bike. I expect them to have that thing firing and being able to get him out of the hole. Here's what I expect from Drew Adams. I expect fast qualifying. I expect him to lead laps, especially if he gets a good start. I expect him to have weekends where he's a bit invisible. That's kind of what rookies do. I expect him to get it overall as a podium. I think he's absolutely capable of that. Um, and like I said, I think that there's potential for him to have some issues on, say, just like starts in general. I think he's gonna struggle with that a little bit. Um, and that being said, let's just get straight into 450 outdoors. Chase Sexton is your defending outdoor champion from last year. Like, and I has he had to focus on Supercross right down to as recently as this last Saturday? Absolutely. And like Seth Hamaker, I think that hurts his prep rolling into outdoors. I assume that KTM, like they've done this before. It's not their first rodeo when it comes to getting someone prepped for outdoors. But with the amount of time and the emphasis on Supercross, I think that it definitely puts Chase behind the eight ball, especially when it comes to competing against guys like Eli Tomac, who if Eli's been back on the bike, it's outdoors and outdoors only. Same thing with Jett Lawrence. If he's been getting ready to go, it's outdoors only. Same thing with Jorge Prado, who's been back on the bike for 4 weeks now, and has been able to focus specifically on going fast outdoors. Um, like guys like guys like Justin Cooper, guys like Malcolm Stewart, AP, Barsha, Jason Anderson, Jorge Prado. I believe Hunter Lawrence will be back for the first round of outdoors. Regardless, uh, that is a ton of talent being re-injected into the series. And what that means is that someone is going to leave Paula, otherwise known as Fox Raceway, at the first round and be pissed that they just got ninth. Um, Jett Lawrence is coming back with plenty of time on the bike. I think he has more time on the bike than people realize. I think it's been very sort of hush hush about how much time he's been able to log. Whether that's them like whether that means he hasn't had much time, they're sort of keeping that on under wraps, or he's been able to get back on the bike sooner than expected. I definitely see them sort of kind of waiting in the weeds a little bit and just letting the chips fall where they may on the round one. And I would not be surprised. Like Jett has been extremely really good at Paula, Fox Raceway. I think that was his very first outdoor win in outdoors period back when he was number 83. And yeah, he's been pretty much lights out there ever since. I would expect him to be on the podium, if not at the top step of it, when the series gets going in about a week's time. I can't believe it. It just happens so quickly, this series. It's nonstop. Eli Tomac, I think he's also looking to make a statement, especially since the fact he doesn't look to be returning to Star Racing Yamaha. And I think that's a big surprise to a lot of people, but um, they can only have so many guys over there. And I don't think the contract conversations has gone as well as they expected them to. There's been talk about Eli Tomac making his way over to Red Bull KTM. I could sort of have him see him as a like they're gonna have, if that's the case, they're gonna have three bikes over there with Aaron Plessinger, Vial, and Eli Tomac. I don't know that maybe 4 months ago that KTM was expecting to have Vial on that team as well, but they're going to have him move up. I believe he still has another year on his deal, and he's going to have to race 450 Supercross, like I said, unless they change something about that. So, yeah, buckle up for that. That's going to be interesting. Um, Eli Tomac, I think he's going to have a chip on his shoulder. I think he's going to be poised to be at his very best. Like seems like a kind of guy that if things didn't go well as far as the negotiation table with Star Racing Yamaha, I could see him not letting that sort of bother him as far as like him not being able to be successful with this season. I completely expect him to say, you know what, like hey, like I'm going to show you what you guys are missing out on. Because I still have the speed, I can still contend, and if we get the best version of Eli Tomac that he can offer right now, that's a guy who can contend for this championship. I can see him getting wins, and I could see him being a thorn in the side of Chase Sexton, Jett Lawrence, and anybody else who wants to vie for this title. I haven't even mentioned him yet through this entire podcast, aside from the fact that he would look good in a suit. Ken Roxon, I could see him racing like three outdoors, four outdoors. I don't see him doing any more than that. He likes to show up at something like Unadilla. I don't expect him to see him on a 250F, although I think that was dope, especially seeing 94 with black plates on it. That's always fun to see. But yeah, 450 outdoors, catch the fever. It's going to be wild. I think Prado, I think by the end of the season, gets himself a couple of wins. He is an underrated individual when it comes to like his just skills on a dirt bike, period. I think Americans sleep on him more than they should. He's a two-time MX1 world champion for a reason. And I don't think learning tracks is going to be his a problem for him. He goes to places like Argentina, where he probably doesn't have a lot of experience on that track whatsoever. Just goes out there and wins. Same thing with like they have all kinds of tracks that like these guys don't have a lot of time on, and they learn them quick and they go fast. Question: what is the best national to attend as a fan? Um, it's Millville, and it's not particularly close, in my opinion. Obviously, that's also the one closest to me, so I have the most experience going to that event. But I've been to a number of the other events on the series. Paula is it's a good track, but as far as aesthetically pleasing and like it's gonna be hot as balls, there's nowhere to hide. The track is sort of like a kind of gravelly, and it's in a big flat piece of ground. I don't love Paula. I don't love Hangtown. Redbud is obviously a really good one. It's 4th of July weekend. It's pretty cool to hang out and be able to like just take that whole thing in. But as far as like amenities and like you're gonna pretend like it's 1994 because you're gonna get no cell service while you're there. But as far as the like places that you can like the viewing at Millville is about as good as it can get. You have Mount Martin. You can stand there and literally watch the entire track aside from the sand whoops. I encourage anyone who goes to Millville, watch at least one race, at least starting from the sand whoops, watching on the first lap where everyone is filing through there and just like hammering through the sand whoops is one of the coolest things. The catapult's still there. The finish line in and around that area, like sort of like when you're in the middle of the valley, that is super, super cool to see. You can kind of it's almost like you're surrounded by motocross. It always gets hot. Sometimes they do get some weather. Like in the past, we've gotten some thunderstorms roll through there. That is still part of the sort of the reality of like that particular event is that time of year they get a lot of humidity that builds up, turns into some thunderstorms. But we've also had some like epic races there, even if they're mudders. Of course, 2006 being the year where Ricky Carmichael wins by lapping the entire field. I think it was Brock Hepler who won in the 250s that day. He was always good in the mud. He's a Pennsylvania guy, so those guys are always good in the mud. All right, a brand new segment we got. What's charging? What's fading? Charging is motocross. Motocross is about to get started, the great outdoors, if you will. And I think that motocross is so much more relatable to the fans of the sport than supercross is. Like, there's like hitting stadium whoops. Most fans don't know what that feels like. Hitting a supercross triple, it's spectacular, but a lot of fans don't know what that feels like. But rowing through a set of sand whoops or railing an outside berm in a sweeping corner. I think that the core fan of the sport, the fan that actually spends money in the industry, they're motocross people, and that's what they can relate to. That's something that they can see, even though the speeds that you see at a national aren't anywhere close to what you see, or like they're so much faster than what you see at a local race on a weekend. It's still like it's something that people can relate to, or say maybe you rode amateur day at Millville, and then like a couple of days later you see Jett Lawrence hitting that exact same section. Like it took you like three jumps to get through there, and he just clears the whole damn thing. Like it hurts your feelings, but it's still at the same time, it's like maybe the raddest thing in the world. So I always like to see that. Um, but and then what's fading is the era of iconic gear, like motocross gear. There was a time when certain riders and certain years were just synonymous with certain sets of gear. Particular, like let's say like Travis Pastrana, 2001, he had either the red, tr the No Fear gear, or he had that gray stuff that he basically like. It was almost every round, including Motocross Nations, he won the same stuff, and like. Maybe that's just a sign of the time. Like the way they make gear nowadays is just different. The way they advertise gear and market it is just different. They almost have that like that sneaker like gotta have it. It's always changing. If it's this one's not your flavor, hey, maybe next weekend's your flavor, and they'll just keep showcasing all the different things that come out in the catalog that pulls you to the website. A lot of limited edition stuff that like it's just they didn't never used to have stuff like that, and if they did it was for certain riders and it just wasn't for sale. Like there was that the stuff that James Stewart had for I believe it was Vegas 2005. Like it was like he had the yellow zebra gear. I believe that was 180 stuff, and it came in sort of a gold that like it wasn't available. You can get the yellow and you can get the pink, but it wasn't available in gold. And I think that was some of the things that are sort of special and different. But there's stuff that like Cooper Webb has worn this year. I don't think he's worn the same gear more than a couple of times um, throughout this season. So if I think of like what did Cooper Webb look like in the 2025 Supercross season, like I can't really pinpoint that, and it kind of bums me out that things have sort of become so much more disposable that way. So it's just like I think the what's fading right now is just sort of that like that iconic gear from particular years. Like I think of 2008, Chad Reed wore a ton of black. Like he had like some really cool looking black kits. He also had a black and yellow kit that was really sick. And then in 2004, he had that like blue paisley gear that really stood out. He wore it outdoors as well as indoors, and that was really cool. Like the blue paisley stuff was like pretty much iconic. And yeah, we're not going to see stuff like that anymore because these guys wear something new all the time. All right, guys. Well, that's the podcast, BigMx Radio. Appreciate you guys if you can support all of the sponsors. Fast Company. Go ahead and get yourself a Fast Company spoke torque wrench. Pretty much every professional mechanic in the pits has one of these things. They absolutely love them. I love mine. I use it. It's part of my like bike prep every time I go to the track. I make sure that the wheels are tuned properly with the spoke torque wrench. I make sure that my chain is the proper tension. I set my sag with my Slacker digital sag scale. Easiest thing in the world to do. Obviously, top her up with gas. Make sure that everything is squared away and tightened up to torque to spec or cross threaded either way. So check those guys out. They also have the Fast Company Flex handlebars, and that's something that probably gets a little slept on. Not a lot of guys use it in the pros. A ton of guys use it in GNCC. In fact, there's some riders that they promote another brand, but they definitely run the Flex bars. The Bruff brothers from Mesquite, they wear them, use them all the time, and those guys are a whole hell of a lot faster than me. So if they can make them work, you can make them work. The take gets a little bit less feedback from your hands, and like you're also not going to bend them because they do have sort of like a hinge there. They do look a little bit heavier than most bars, but let's be honest, weight savings is probably not the biggest importance to your weekend warrior. It's more about durability and just like comfortability. And if that's what you're looking for, kind of look no further than the flex bars. So go check those guys out. Like I said right off the hop, Race Tech, those guys are awesome. They provide a discount for Big MX Radio listeners. Same thing with Luxon MX. They're fantastic to work with. You can save 10% with Big MX 2025 at checkout. And Moose Racing. They've got some unbelievable gear. They've also got tons of hard parts for your motorcycle that you can put to use, and or your UTV, ATV. The side by sides, they've got a ton of cool stuff for the off-road side of things. So check out their website. Last but not least, Recluse, Pro X, and race winning brands. Recluse, the clutches, their brand new Apex clutch. That's what they're using in the Star Racing Yamaha bikes. That's what's allowing Hayden Deegan to get all kinds of amazing starts and just like and rule the sport as far as the 250 class is considered right now. When he dumps the clutch, it's a Recluse clutch, and yeah, you guys should go check those guys out. It's also available Race Winning Brands Canada, so yeah, go check that out. And yeah, so thanks you guys for listening to the podcast. Thanks for everyone who is watching this on YouTube. I'm going to cut this up into a couple of videos for you guys to drool over, and hopefully I brought some sort of value. If you did, please leave a like or comment. Find us on YouTube, BigMx Radio. Also find us on all forms of social media at BigMx Radio. And yeah, go get yourself some throttle therapy. And Sean, if you're listening to this on the treadmill, or if you're on the ellipticals, getting your reps in at the gym, keep on doing it, buddy. Appreciate you. And yeah, thanks to everyone for taking the time to listen.